Hello everyone, I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Today, we live in a society where people are praised for more surviving than avoiding it. The student who sleeps 3 hours is called hardworking. The employee who never rests is called dedicated. The person who hides their emotion is called strong. But nobody stops and asks, why are people suffering this much in the very first place? Now, that is the problem with glorification of the resilience. Now, society romanticizes endurance so much that suffering becomes normalized, and people feel pressure to silently tolerate unhealthy conditions just to gain that respect. Now, why is this important? Because the way society praises resilience changes how people treat themselves and others. When we glorify resilience too much, people start believing suffering is normal, asking for help is weak, and resting means failure. This is dangerous because it pushes people to ignore their mental health, they stay in toxic environments, and overwork themselves just to be respected. It also allows schools, workplace, and government to avoid fixing harmful systems since people are expected to just endure it. So if this continues, society becomes emotionally exhausted, unhealthy, and less compassionate over time. So there's the interest of the actors where individuals, where one are individuals where people want to live healthy and balanced life, not constantly feel pressured to suffer just to be respected. They want support, they want rest and emotional safety without being judged as a weak person. There's two, whereas families want their children and loved ones to grow up emotionally healthy, not burned out, emotionally repressed, or forced to hide their struggles all the time. There's three, whereas works and school place, where schools and workplace benefit more when people are mentally and healthy, motivated long term, instead of exhausted, stressed, and emotionally drained. Four, there is society, where society benefits when people ask for help early, maintain good health, and live productively without toxic pressure. This creates a healthier and more compassionate and more sustainable society overall. So, what is actually wrong in the status quo? So, right now, society treats suffering like an achievement. People get praised more when they overwork, they never rest, they hide emotions, and push through pain. Meanwhile, people who ask for help or take breaks are often called, oh, they're weak, they're lazy, they're dramatic, or they're not hardworking enough. So, because of this, many people feel forced to keep suffering silently just to gain respect. The bigger problem is that schools, companies, and even families stop fixing harmful systems because they expect that people just to be resilient. So instead of removing the pressure, society romanticizes like surviving it. So what is this motion trying to fix? This motion is trying to fix a culture where people are valued more for surviving suffering than for living healthy and supported life. Right now, society glorifies people who overwork themselves, hide emotion, tolerate toxic situations, and keep suffering silently. So because of this, many people feel pressure to always stay strong, even when they are exhausted or need help. So the motion wants to shift society away from romanticizing pain and toward a healthier lifestyle, better support system, emotional openness, and fixing harmful system instead of forcing people to endure them. So our goal is to create a society that values well-being and support system more than suffering and silent endurance. Our burden is to prove our goal and how regretting resilience can be more beneficial. Let's go to the first argument for the government, where glorifying resilience normalizes unhealthy suffering. So let's go to the root problem here. When society constantly praises people for staying strong, no matter how life hard gets, people start thinking suffering is something normal and even necessary to deserve respect. Instead of fixing harmful situations, society tells people to just endure them. So let's go to our first mechanism, where people became scared to ask for help because they think struggling means weakness. Students force themselves to study while exhausted. Workers continue toxic overtime. People ignore their mental health because everyone praises pushing through. Now, society right now treats exhaustion like a flex. The friend who says, oh, guys, I slept 8 hours and took care of myself gets called lazy. But the one who says, I survived an iced coffee, cried twice, and finished 4 assignments at 3 a.m. suddenly becomes the main character of motivation edits on TikTok. And honestly, that's the scary part. Because instead of asking, why are students this stressed? We praise people for surviving unhealthy pressure. That is exactly why we really regret the glorification of resilience. Now, there is a second mechanism here, where schools, companies, and governments stop improving system because resilient people continue to survive it anyway. Because Instead of reducing pressure, society rewards people for tolerating it. Like there's an example where let's just imagine two students here. One student says like, I took a break because I was overwhelmed. And then other people are gonna be like, oh wow, that student's very, very lazy. That's like not a good thing. And then another student says that I slept for 2 hours finishing assignment. People are like, oh my god, so strong, so good, so respected. That's the problem. Society praises the damage instead of questioning why people are suffering that much in the first place. So here's the comparison between government and opposition. On government, we believe people deserve support before they break down. A good society is the one that reduces unnecessary suffering, encourages asking for help, and fixes harmful systems. We value healthy living, balance, and emotional openness. Success should not come from how much pain you can survive. On opposition will likely believe resilience is necessary because life is hard. But their world often romanticizes suffering by saying pressure builds character, struggle makes people stronger, or people just need to be tougher mentally. But this creates a society where people are expected to tolerate unhealthy conditions instead of improving them. And again, when I said people just need tougher mentality, not all people have the same mentality because every people are different. One can have that weak mentality because they're still developing, or one can have that weak mentality where that one because they just finished the breakdown, and because once you finish the breakdown, mental will not always be like as good as the one you're living it. Sometimes people can also have that a good mentality that can like overwork and can over what. But at the end of the day, if you keep on doing that overwork, it can actually damage you and yourself because you're gonna get exhausted. And once you get exhausted, your brain is not gonna function well. And once your brain is not gonna function well, it will become into an instability. So this creates a society where people are expected to tolerate unhealthy conditions instead of improving them. So in their world, burnout becomes normal, emotional suppression is praised, and people feel guilty for resting or asking for help. I have a simple way in here that might help, where government actually creates healthier people, better emotional well-being, and system that actually solve problems. Where healthier people equals to healthier mental, and then better emotional well-being becomes like where they can actually control their own emotions without going on a breakdown just because, or like on like a burnout every single day just because they're overworking like every single time, every single day, and every single hour. And a system that actually solves a problem where government will actually take a side of the society, what is happening right now, and they can try to solve that problem because society is not normalizing the resilience of this. So the opposition creates normalized suffering, toxic pressure, and a culture where people only gain respect for enduring pain. So the society will normalize suffering, like, oh, you know what, you're suffering, okay, good, because that's very good. I am from the proposition team, proud to propose.